So I'm running on a Windows 10 machine, and on this machine I've installed both MAMP for Windows and WAMP servers, which is generally not something you would do. You need either one or the other. You don't need both. But since I am demonstrating both of these, because I'm not quite sure which one of these you're using, I have them both on this machine. So I'll just have to be really careful to make sure I only have one running at a time. But if you are going to run WAMP, you're going to build your website inside of the WAMP folder. So I'm just in this PC, WAMP, in the www. This is my server. This is what everything is going to, where all of my sites that will run on my server will be. So if I right click here and make a new folder, I can just call this site. That's where I will put these things, and I will define my site into that folder. This also could be your testing server site because it is running on a server. So now for WAMP, it's a little bit different. I would go into the MAMP folder, and inside of the MAMP folder, I'm going to go into the htdocs. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder here. I'll call them both site here, just so I can confuse you a little bit. Okay, now right now I don't have any server running at all. So I'm going to go down here. Actually, let's go to my computer again. What am I doing? Okay. So let's start WAMP first. So I'm going to go into the WAMP server, because you actually have to have the server running in order for your PHP to be recognized and work. For instance, right now if I went in here and I tried to open up the index page, it's coming up with all of this because the server does not know how to interpret the PHP. So let's close that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out here and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the WAMP manager. And go ahead, yes. And you can see down here this little red W popped up, and it did turn green for me. The first time you run it, it's probably going to be pretty common that it might stay red or orange. So what you're going to try to do is you're going to start all your services, your Apache server and your MySQL server in there. If they don't turn on, like if it turns orange for you, what you're going to do is you're going to go up here and you are going to test your port 80 and see. Right now this is Apache that is running on my port 80, which is exactly what I want. But if you have something else, like for instance Skype is a big port 80 user in there, you're going to have to go into your services and make sure that that is shut off, whatever it is. If after doing that you still don't get a green light there in your WAMP, what you're going to do is go into here, go into services, and actually you might have to install your service the first time. So install it and then start the service. I think that's really probably the biggest issues that you're going to get. But as soon as you have that green light, everything should work. So let's take a look at this. If I go in and I look at index.php, give it a second, it's still spinning there. Okay, well that's weird. That may just be cached in my system somewhere, because all of my systems do seem to be running and it's there. So let's try opening up the PHP My Admin page. There, see, this is popping up, and this is actually a PHP based page. You can't see it running there, but so I know that my PHP is actually running. Okay, it's running. We don't need to dig into that much further. Now I'm curious as to what's going on. You can also see you can get into the www directory just by going through there. Okay, so to define this, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say new site. And then I will go ahead and I'll get that in the WAMP folder. And then I can go in here into the servers, tell it that I am going to be using a local host. It's already going into the right folder, so I don't have to worry about that. And I can tell this is actually my testing server. I don't have anything in there, but if I did, let's go ahead and just save something. Now the cool thing about this now, instead of being HTML, I can actually make it PHP, because my WAMP server can actually interpret my PHP pages. So let's go there, make it default.php. Okay, so if I go out here, I could test this, but I don't want to. I want to find it this way. Just make my life more difficult. Inside of my WAMP folder, site. So this is up, running, and it's actually reading a PHP page. If I shut off my WAMP folder or my WAMP server, that would not work. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to stop my services. It's red now because my services are stopped. I'm going to go ahead and exit that. It may be cached, so it may still read it, but it's just trying to prove me wrong. Silly thing. Generally, unless your server is up and running, you can't read any PHP pages. And if your server is up and running, you can read PHP pages. It's just trying to be difficult for me. Okay, so now if I go ahead in here, we looked at WAMP. MAMP is going to work the same way. So I'm just going to go ahead and I have MAMP going here. So you're going to open up your MAMP. Make sure that your services are started. So it's gonna, doesn't want to, whoop, it did. It popped both of those things open after complaining. You can see that I have a green dot in both of these so that my server is actually running. And the setup is going to be exactly the same as I did with my WAMP folder, except for instead of the www, it's going to be in that htdocs inside of the MAMP folder. Again, you would never run both of these on the same machine at the same time. I'm just doing it for the sake of demonstration. But now, once you have a server running, you can do any PHP pages. You actually can create databases in here. If you go into your MAMP server or WAMP server, you have that PHP MyAdmin, so you can build databases. But you can run APIs, you can do all kinds of JSON and AJAX stuff that you couldn't do before. So your world of possibilities for developing on your local machine has just expanded greatly.